So today's lesson is all about, we're starting to introduce the sort of concept of hormonal control. So we've been looking at nervous control, and then we looked at how body temperature is controlled by physiological methods, and today we are starting to look at how the hormonal system is involved in homeostasis. Remember, homeostasis is the control of internal conditions and keeping them constant. And in today's lesson we're going to have a look at glands, the primary glands in the body, and what they produce and the chemicals that they produce. So we're going to start off, as it says there, the human endocrine system and the glands. You have two systems in the body. You have the endocrine system and the exocrine system. You don't need to know much about the exocrine system, but I am going to talk you through just brief overview about what the difference in the exocrine and endocrine system are. So both systems have glands, but in the endocrine system the chemicals that they produce are secreted, and that's the word that we use in biology to mean released, but they are secreted directly into the bloodstream, where they then travel to what we refer to as their target organs. In the exocrine system, the glands secrete something directly to where they are going to be used. So for example, your salivary glands are in your exocrine system, excreting and secreting saliva into your mouth. Okay, whereas your pituitary gland, which we'll talk about a bit later, is in your endocrine system and secretes hormones into the blood. So we're going to concentrate on the endocrine system, and as it says there, it consists of hormones and glands, and glands are the organs that secrete the chemicals, and they secrete the hormones into the blood. They travel to the target organs where they have their effect. So again, this is negative feedback, so there are systems in place that are monitoring levels of certain things. When those levels are not normal, then certain mechanisms are put in place, certain things happen, and then they are released, and they're rectified and they go back down to being normal again. Okay, so we're going to start off by looking at the main glands. Now, you have either, hopefully, printed off the sheet attached for this lesson, or if not, you're just going to need to jot down a few notes about each of the glands. So I'm just going to briefly talk about the glands and this individual here who is blessed with lots of different organs. So we're going to talk about the pituitary gland and where that's located and what it does, but the pituitary gland is often known as the master gland. Coming down to the thyroid gland, we're going to talk about the pancreas, the adrenal glands, which sit on top of your kidneys, the ovaries, which are located either side of the uterus, and the testes. Alright, so you've got a little box on your table to fill in on each of these. So let's start with the pituitary gland. So your pituitary gland sits just below your hypothalamus in your brain, and it's very closely connected to the hypothalamus. Now last lesson, we talked about how the hypothalamus is the location of your thermoregulatory centre, and it monitors the temperature of the blood. So it's a very involved control centre, and it is highly involved with and connected to the pituitary gland, and sometimes it gives the pituitary gland specific instructions on hormones to release. So your pituitary gland is known as the master gland, and the reason for this is that often it secretes hormones that trigger the release of other hormones. Now, I put down there examples of FSH and LH. We are going to come back to these at a later stage, but for now you just need to know they're involved in the female menstrual cycle, and they involve the production and release of other hormones. But sometimes the pituitary gland just releases a hormone directly, so not a hormone that has an effect on another hormone, but a hormone that has an effect on something within the body, and an example of that is growth hormone. Now, your thyroid gland sits in your neck. Okay, so it's located in your neck. You can see that this is your sort of voice box, your Adam's apple at the top here, so it's just below your voice box, right at the top of the trachea. And its main job is to secrete this hormone thyroxine, and thyroxine is heavily influenced in your metabolism. So it regulates the speed of your metabolism, and your metabolism is how swiftly your cells carry out chemical reactions. People that have very high metabolisms often lose weight very easily and are quite slim. People with low metabolisms gain weight very easily and can often be larger than people with a high metabolism. And your metabolism is based on many things, so part of it is genetic, part of it is your muscle to fat ratio, part of it is how much exercise you do, but thyroxine production is also involved in this. You can have an overactive or an underactive thyroid gland. People with overactive thyroid glands are characterised by being very slim, very skinny, and characteristically having these bug eyes. People with overactive thyroid glands often have a large lump in their neck known as a goiter. Okay. Right, now the pancreas is an interesting one because the pancreas acts in both the endocrine and exocrine system. So in the exocrine system, it releases enzymes directly into the small intestines for digestion. And remember, those are carbohydrates, lipases and proteases. But in the endocrine system, it releases the two hormones, insulin and glucagon. They are both involved in the regulation of blood sugar. And we will come back to this again in a lot more detail soon. The adrenal glands. Now your adrenal glands sit on top of your kidneys and they secrete adrenaline. Adrenaline is one of the fastest acting hormones. Right back at the beginning of this, when we talked about homeostasis, we talked about how the nervous system and the hormonal system. Nervous system is very quick and has short lasting effects, whereas your hormonal system can be much slower, but the effects tend to last for longer. This is not the case for adrenaline. Adrenaline is one of your fastest acting hormones you have. And it prepares you for what we call your fight-flight response. So it increases your heart rate, increases your breathing rate, increases sweating, and gets you ready to either fight a threat or perceived threat or to run away from it. The testes. So the testes are the male sex organs and they secrete the hormone testosterone. Alright, it's involved in the development and maintenance of the secondary sex characteristics. So that's broad shoulders, pubic hair, deep voice. All of those things are produced in response to producing testosterone, and that is the male sex hormone. Females, we have the ovaries, and they secrete hormones estrogen and progesterone, and again they're involved in the development and maintenance of the secondary sex characteristics, so wide hips, breast development, pubic hair, but also they're heavily involved in the female menstrual cycle, which we are going to look at a later date, in thickening and maintaining the thickness of the uterus lining in case a fertilised egg is implanted. So let's just watch this little video. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is to copy and complete this. You have the words at the bottom. It is fairly straightforward and it shouldn't take you very long at all. Okay, just to make sure that you've got the correct words in there. And then finally, just a reminder about negative feedback. So what is negative feedback? Negative feedback is when basically something happens, okay, and mechanisms are put in place so the hormone production is controlled by negative feedback. Something changes, we need to produce this hormone, the hormone is produced and it puts everything back to what it should be at a normal level. Okay, thank you very much.